Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So the last video I did was a roundup of what I read in the year 2020, and today I'm going to go over what I am most excited to sink my teeth into in 2021. Of course, I'll be reading a variety of things, working my way through the Stephen King catalog and all that good stuff, but I'm going to talk about the books I am most eagerly anticipated to read. And that doesn't necessarily mean these are the books I'm going to prioritize this year. This is in no particular order, just the books I'm really excited about. Without further ado, let's start with number 1, A Song of Ice and Fire. Without a doubt, the definitive modern fantasy series that has dominated pop culture since the release of the HBO television series, which I absolutely loved. And all the way through, I was just thinking, wow, I love these characters and I cannot wait to learn more about them and experience the world as George R. R. Martin intended it to be experienced, and also The Winds of Winter coming out somewhere along the horizon, and we can experience a proper, true ending, not a botched, freaking rushed job by Dan and Dave, but you guys have heard enough slander of Game of Thrones. I shouldn't say slander because it is deserved, but point is, I'm excited to experience Game of Thrones proper with A Song of Ice and Fire. I have read the first half of the first book about a year ago, but now that I'm an active reader and I'm doing stuff on the channel, I am ready to dive into this for you guys. And I know a lot of y'all are King fans, so you're gonna love to see that 11/22/63 will be my next read once I finish up the Dark Tower series and once I finish Lord of the Rings, which are my current reads. Reviews coming out for those as soon as they're done. But holy smokes, I have heard only unbelievably good things about 11/22/63. It is not horror, and it is, I know the story loosely. A man goes back in time and tries to stop the JFK assassination. That is all I know about it. And I've heard this book praised from King fans to non-King fans to just the casual reader. People love this thing. And I know Stephen King considers this one of his best. So I am beyond excited to hop into this. And also, I know some characters make a few cameos in this book that I have come to love. So I really am overjoyed to be starting this, and I cannot frickin' wait, man! Now, any of you coming over from the Daniel Green subreddit will be familiar with the next series I plan on starting, Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I know literally nothing about Wheel of Time, other than the fact that there is a character named Rand in it, and that it is getting adaptation on Amazon Prime. I have a few of these books in hardcover that I've thrifted and whatnot like that. I literally am going in completely blind. I don't even know anything remotely close to the plot. So I really just cannot wait, and I'm really excited to dive into stuff going in blind. That's the best way to experience a book, because you don't know who's relevant to what, if a twist and turn is being set up. Everything is just a complete mystery to you from beginning to end, and that is a really thrilling and exciting way to dive into a massive series such as Wheel of Time. And speaking of fantasy epics, J.R.R. Tolkien's epic saga before the Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion. I know this is like the Bible of Middle-earth, and I have scanned through this edition I have just because there is some insanely stunning illustrations. But for those of you who don't know, Lord of the Rings is the most important thing in my life in terms of art and media and story. It is just the single piece of art that has affected me more than anything else I've ever encountered. And I think about Lord of the Rings like multiple times a day. I mean, I'm just obsessed with it. I have my first tattoo booked. It is a massive Lord of the Rings piece on my stomach. And let me show you one other little Lord of the Rings thing I got. Yeah! So when I tell you I like Lord of the Rings, I ain't joking, baby. We got it's not screen accurate. This is supposed to be white, this little jewel, but guy sold this to me for 60 bucks at a flea market. How crazy is that? So I've got little Andruil here, and I cannot wait. Oh, I'm gonna get a thumbnail shot right here. I'll get a few more. I cannot wait to read the Silmarillion and experience Middle-earth and its origins and the other ages and the other characters that Tolkien has to offer. I know like 2 things about this book. Other than that, I'm going in blind. I cannot wait, and I have Children of Hurin, Fall of Gondolin, and Beren and Luthien on the shelf, ready to go for when I finish the Silmarillion. And the Amazon show is coming out. Hallelujah! Moving on from there, we have a book that was not recommended to me, I had never heard of. I just wanted to read a fantasy, or not a fantasy, a samurai epic, and I looked up the best samurai books on the planet, and Musashi was the name that kept coming up over and over again. And I guess this is a fictionalized retelling of a actual samurai who was legend throughout Japan. And it is written by Eiji Yoshikawa. And here's the thing, I don't like reading fantasy books, or not fantasy, samurai books written by white guys who are like a little bit like weeb tendencies and stuff like that. I wanted to read something authentic from Japan, and this book, Musashi, I bought it on a whim, and it's been staring at me ever since. Look at this gorgeous cover and gorgeous spine. I'm obsessed with how this book looks. I know nothing about the plot other than that it's a samurai epic starring this guy Musashi, and it just looks beautiful, and it's a stunning edition that I have. Had ordered this bad boy online. Got some mad plum points for this one. But so yeah, Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa. Speaking of Japan, Battle Royale, one of my favorite films of all time, was based on this book by Kushin Takami. So it looks like a manga with this cover, but it's not. It's a full-on novel. And if you aren't familiar with the plot, it is basically Japan has a problem with rebellious and violent youth. So they send them all to an island in a battle to the death. And it's filmed and aired, and it's run by the government. And I know you're thinking, that sounds familiar. It sounds a little bit like the Hunger Games taking place in a dystopian future. Guess what? It's identical to the Hunger Games, other than the fact that it's not like a post-apocalyptic world. The game is identical, there are dead zones and all that stuff. Except it's basically Hunger Games, but written by a literary genius, or so I've heard, because I haven't read it. The film is absolutely flawless, so I only imagine the book is really good. And anytime I love a film, I love to read the book so I can get my satisfaction fill of lore and history behind those characters. And this just seems like an absolutely chaotically crazy good time, so I cannot wait to read Battle Royale. Two more left. We have the Detour, Turning the Tide. I mentioned this in my Christmas haul video, but really quickly, this is a story of my friend Ben J. Harris, who traveled all the way from Thailand, I believe, back to London, England, not London, just England, without air travel in the mid-2000s, crossing through Asia into the Middle East, all by bicycle or vehicular or walking travel. There are some insane accounts in this book, and he's told me some stories in real life. And let me just get some photos up for you here. This man was sneaking onto buses, crossing through borders, having an absolute crazy time. And he experienced so much crazy stuff. You can see the images in here. Maybe, I'm not sure if it picks up because they're black and white. But the stuff this guy experienced was absolutely insane. And there's just so many stories to be told in this book. And last but not least, a book I have been dying to read since I started reading Stephen King. The Stand. Currently reading Dark Tower Book 4, and there has already been some huge tie-ins set up. And with the CBS All Access series coming out, which probably is going to suck, but it still looks cool, the hype has never been bigger for The Stand. This is the revised edition. It is incredibly thick. This is like 1,300 pages, and the print is so small. It's like a freaking Bible print edition. And this just, people tell me this is like the epic of Stephen King. And Daniel Green also said it is like a crazy, monumental piece of storytelling. And I love the way Stephen King writes. And sometimes Stephen has small, quick little personal tales, such as Carrie. And other times he has spanning decade-long odysseys such as It. And The Stand seems to be the magnum opus of his creativity. And I cannot wait to read it, especially with how I'm moving through the Dark Tower. This is going to be the ride of a life, and I cannot wait. And there you have it, folks, my most anticipated reads of 2021. There are still many books that are going to be read, such as finishing off the Dark Tower series. I plan on reading the Dexter books. I might do some H.P. Lovecraft stuff for you guys. Kings of the Wild. I have Moby Dick, Leviathan Wakes, The Whole Expanse, Harry Potter. All sorts of good stuff coming your way in the new year. But these are the ones that are hot on the radar. And I cannot wait to dive into these things head friggin' first. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a lovely lovely.